G'day folks, Cruzer build continues. Going to start on the windscreens. Watch the movie though, we don't quite finish it. And some odds and sods along the way, closing up the front glare shield and a bit of hangar maintenance. Hope you enjoy this video. Right, stuck in lockdown, so a good time to just read up on all the rules and regs, registering the Cruzer, what placards I need, what type this is, so it's amateur built. So yeah, just making use of my time in lockdown to do some paperwork. Alright, stuck at home during lockdown, so I've just rummaged around, found a couple of LED lights in the cupboard. I'm just going to make up a board, and this will hang over my bench where the vertical drills are, and that are in the hangar. So back at home, but can still keep doing stuff towards the Cruzer build. Couple of perfectly round holes, well, almost. Right, a couple of minutes work. The lights installed. That'll hang over the bench, and I better give it a. I'll just paint this edge, I think. That's why I can paint the screws. It's going to hang. I don't think it'll balance. But where it hangs down in the shop, there's a rafter, but then I'll have to pull it over to the bench anyway, so it'll I'll string it up somehow. Now I've also got these that were sent down by a friend from Queensland. They're the spat moulds off a Grumman Tiger. So I've researched it. Now they'll fit my wheels. Pull one out. So I can have a go while I'm in this 5-day lockdown. Well, I can't actually, I haven't got the materials. So you need wax, what else do you need? Release agent, 3 layers of 8-ounce glass, I'm informed, to lay them all up. So most of my gear's at the hangar. I've got some West Systems epoxy there, but I haven't got the mat, and haven't ordered the stuff. I'm not that organised. Be nice to have a play with those, but the stuff I've done in the past, I never have much luck. I think I put too much hardener in normally, and the glass sort of goes a bit green and jelly and not quite. It's not rock hard for a few days, so I'm off to back off on the amount of hardener I use. It's 5-to-1 with the West Systems. These aren't made for the Cruzer, and I get used to good engineering. There's nothing, you can't beat good engineering. So trying to make those fit. So what I'm getting at, I guess, do I buy the Cruzer spats? Do I spend money, have a go at fiberglass and learn a bit? But in the end result, even if the spats turn out perfect, they may not fit the aircraft perfectly. Or I have a go and it sticks to the mould and they turn out pretty crappy. A lot of elbow grease as well. So it's going to cost me a lot of money either way, I think. So I think I'll either buy some second-hand spats for the Cruzer rather than spend the money and the time on a job that I'm not 100% sure is going to turn out right. I'm sure I'll get there in the end, but do it once, do it right. I might buy the Cruzer spats, I think. Alright, just at home, trying to get done what I can while we're stuck on lockdown. So mail time, I just ordered myself, thanks to my contacts through the model aeroplane world, the Dubro tap and drill set. So I've got, it's a nice little set with the drill and the tap obviously, hence the name, drill and tap set. Goes from 1032 down to 256. So 256, 440, 632, 832, 1032. The only issue with that is they've all fallen out of the slots, so they're all mixed up. However, with the vernier I should be able to work out which drill goes with each tap. This is all getting ready for my for the windows. So I've got my drills and taps. Now I've gone with, I ordered in some, these are 832 countersunk screws with the countersunk washers. I think they call them Tinnerman washers, I think they call those. So 832 on the cowl with the 832 anchor nuts. Now I've got the Dubro stuff from Hobby Tools Australia, and I get all my hardware from AAE, Australian Aerospace Engineering. I think they're in Castle Hill or somewhere up towards Sydney. Very quick, very easy. However, you do need to know your part numbers, or you need to know, for instance, an AN3 bolt is simply called AN-3, and then if you want the next size, you can sort of work out you need an AN-4. Some of the, once you know the part number, you can sort of stab in the dark, if you like, and work out the code. So, got my anchor nuts, washers, and 832 by 38 countersunk screws for my cowl. With the cowl, I did think about cam locks and Zuzz fasteners and all that sort of stuff. A lot of time to set them up. A lot of people always say quick release. Nothing's really quick on the aeroplane. It's not like it's on fire and you quickly have to get the cowl off. So I haven't offered the top cowl up to the bottom cowl yet, but I half expect it to sort of not be quite right. So the best way I think is going to be to do that is to anchor nut it together all the way along. A little bit longer to take the cowl on and off. One advantage though is when you take the screw out, there's nothing left there. With some of those quick fasteners like cam locks and Zuzz fasteners, they stay with the cowl, so they're still poking in and they can catch, and it's like a two-man job to get the cowl off. Anyway, that's what I've gone with. Down each side in the cockpit for the windscreen, I've chosen to go with 632. I've already drilled a hole into the chrome moly frame, and I've got these stainless steel by 38 632, what do they be, like pan head or mushroom head screws. I also grabbed some, what do they call it, a washer head screw, just in the, I don't know, the CAD plated style, just got a bigger head on there. So 632 to hold the windscreen on. I'm going to drill a 1/4 inch hole through the windscreen, maybe put a little rubber bit of Dubro fuel tube or something in there to allow for expansion and contraction. That's for the windscreen. Grabbed a couple of clamps, bit of a long shot, stab in the dark while I'm sort of home here, for my, just clamps to go around the oil bottle. I've also got some big P-clips there. So from RS Components, yeah, I've got a big Adele clamp, which if I formed a bit, might hold my oil bottle on nicely. However, it does have a, there's about a 1/2 inch hole through those. So for my AN3 bolt, it's going to be a bit of an ask, but anyway, that's home building. Also, thanks to my mate over in Perth, I think he's ordered an excess of the 3M, what is it, 1300, 3M 1300 toothpaste. So this is neoprene high performance rubber and gasket adhesive. This is the recommended stuff to go between the windscreen and the rubber boot that goes along the bottom edge. My plan there is to glue the rubber boot to the perspex or Lexan to the window, and I've spoken to Roger at the factory at Zenith, and the rubber seal just literally sits on the fuselage. There's no adhesive. If it does balloon up, or elephant ear out, whatever you want to call it, I could potentially put some screws in there if I need to. It seems funny that the bottom of the windscreen, when you're doing 100 knots, which is what, 180 kilometres an hour, the bottom of the windscreen's not actually attached to the airframe and for water and that sort of thing. But we'll see how we go. Keep it simple, stupid. That's the mail time for today. Alright, let's fit a windscreen. So I got the standard Cruzer setup, I guess. This is ready to rivet down. I finished the avionics. However, I'm just giving the courtesy to my inspector that I can open it up and show him the electronics. It'd be nice to have that riveted down, so you can't really cleco it because obviously the windscreen's going to sit on there. I'll get the windscreen on and then put in what clecos I can. Now, you go online and there's a lot of information, different types of, the Stoll and the 701 and different windscreens, especially around this area. So I'll try and run you through what I've done so far. And I'm not saying it's right, but this is how I've interpreted things. So I've got the skin running down the outside. That's all clecoed, ready to go. I did trim this, and including this the horn piece that's underneath. What's it got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9 rivets running up the base of the strut. Bear in mind you're going to get swarf from that in the strut as well. So fitted my door trim, and that's nice. If I did it again, I'd probably bring that out as far as you can. I've got it sort of sitting where it wanted to, and so the door's closed nicely. But I'll tell you why when I get it to the next piece. So that's where we're at the moment. That's all drilled. I then made up this Z piece. The long edge goes to the windscreen, short edge is the door jamb. So if I've got the right side here, going off the photo guide that I had, I've done that. So this will sit this sits on the tube. I've already drilled this one, and that tab runs up the back on the inside. Now, as per the Cruzer plans, and I think it might have been pilot hole drilled, there's no rivet on the outside, but on the inside, if you look over there, there's a rivet on the inside on both sides. So what you end up getting, and this is where it's sort of omitted, I guess, in the photo guide, when this piece goes on, up inside now, you can imagine there's going to be a rivet. There's going to be a rivet in that forward hole, then this piece. However, it sits out a fair way. So my trusty bit of 3mm balsa wood represents the windscreen. So your windscreen will sit against the cabin frame tube. Once this piece, N15 I think it is from memory, don't quote me on that, oh there it is there, N15. So capturing the windscreen, it's captured in there, and on goes this piece on the outside. Now what that causes, if you can see up in there, that tab piece sits about almost 1/4 of an inch off. So I can either cut that off, shim it, bend it in a bit. Not sure how that's going to end up the top. These round portions get folded in eventually on final fit. Once again, this isn't riveted on yet. That's also my zero datum, which my inspector may want to check the incidence of the tailplane. Also fitting a windscreen, it's got the big stole, I think it's the stole or Super Duty version. It comes way down past the bottom sill of the door, down here somewhere. So I've done a rough line, very rough. I'm going to wash that off because it's throwing me off a bit. My plan is to, like the factory Cruzer, cut the windscreen to clear these, what would we say before, 9 rivets. So cut the windscreen back to there and run it around and do it symmetrical or the same on both sides. Also with N15, like I said before, I spaced out my holes, taking into account the perspex edge distance. I don't get too close, but edge distance to the rear is going to be very critical. Don't get any cracks. So I've just evenly spaced those out. There is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've got seven fasteners, and I've cut N15 off to sit nicely. However, that's flush on the tube, and that'll sit nice there. Add in the windscreen, so about 3mm. So you're going to end up with that 3mm offset in the in the door seal. I can live with that. I'm not sure what was meant to happen, because if you move that bottom piece out, then it's sort of just poking out in the airflow. Maybe, yeah, just one area. Probably could have moved across a 1/16 of an inch or so. So if you haven't put these on yet, get that as far outboard as practical. I left it sort of inside the skin of the aircraft, so when your bum drags over it, there's a nice edge there rather than a proud edge. So as you sneak it forward, get this piece flush, slightly proud on the outside. If you do that, the aircraft skin with the radius here is obviously stopping this, so it's tucked in hard against the aircraft skin. So I haven't really got the answer there. Just live with a little dog leg, so seal will run down and move out by about 3mm. Right, M15, clecoed back on, couple down the bottom there, just to give me the back edge of the frame. Trusty old cardboard template. I just found an epoxy bottle, the right diameter. I've just taken a guess and the first one's worked out pretty good. Now that's going to be my template for the windscreen. While I'm here, I might just mark these holes and that'll give me a rough guide of how much edge distance I'm going to get. So on the template, those red dots represent where it's going to be opened up to 1/4 inch, I think. So it's going to be pretty close to the edge, so every effort's going to be made to get that tucked in nicely. Now I'll offer this up to the rear edge, on the rear edge of the windscreen. So windscreen straight out of the box, so the Cruzer kit. I've got, this is factory cut at the top here, sort of an enclosed hole. It's wider halfway down than it is here, so we'll offer up the template and see what happens. Well, report the good with the bad. It seemed like a good idea, you know, wherever the tube is, but the tube's up there and that doesn't make much sense at all. Yeah. Plan B. Plan B, plenty of cardboard cutouts. Going with a hole saw. Got the dimension of the horizontal tube for the windscreen, same as the hole saw. And just wrap the hole saw in sandpaper. Glued it with the old 401 Loctite. Good tip there, keep the super glue miles away from the perspex. That'll craze like anything, and the activator. So we'll see how that goes. The plan there is to just run the hole saw in like that, clean up that hole, we'll see what happens. Right, that seems to have worked. Just to square that hole up, drill in, and we'll refit it to the aircraft, a little bit at a time. Alright, first little bit, looks like this part of the hinge, maybe if I started with a gap and then the hinge would be okay, but the way I've done mine, I've got a male if you like and then a female. So I'm going to take these off, get them out of the way, just concentrate on the windscreen, get the windscreen lined up with the back here, just because this gets in the way at the moment. So I can either take that off or maybe cut a slot in the windscreen, but I'll get the windscreen to fit first. Alright, a little bit often. It's getting hot in the hangar, it's about 33 degrees outside Fahrenheit. So I put the bottom seal on, just taped it on, just helps with that edge. It also helps, doing this by myself, the windscreen wants to just slide off the front of the aircraft, so this helps, don't rely on it, but it also sort of sticks so you don't get much jiggle room, but it's better than have it slide off the front. Trying to minimise the amount of times I pick this fella up and put it on. I'm up to about 6, but we'll keep going. Alright, the rubber seal sort of holds it, I don't trust it, and got it to a workable state up the top here now, so I just get a parallel line around the tube, and same on the other side, and then I've got to work on my, get it flush with this tube. Also, I just want to get it a little bit higher up, can't hurt, past centre. Well, I assume you want the screws on centre line up here. Might just check that, they might actually go in on an angle. But going well. Hot day like this, and this thing's almost, it's almost like liquid. I won't say anything, touch wood. I'm sort of very gently lift it off, put it back on, pour it off. Alright, so back out in the hangar. Where we at? We just had this bloody 5-day lockdown, and I feel like I know I can sense I'm rushing. I feel like I've been ripped off a few days and I'm trying to catch up for no real reason. So, time out, let's stop, have a think about this. I've got a beautiful big windscreen sitting over here that I don't want to use the C word, okay? Now, things are going well. As you saw, I've sanded these top edges. I took off the gear up the top here. I'll worry about that later and want to get it on. But because I'm rushing, I think it's time just to stand back a bit. What's happening is, I haven't, this is ready to close up in my opinion. I need to do a final, like a FOD check in there and check everything's tight. I want to seal up the rear of the firewall. I've got some polyurethane there around my grommets. I'm going to seal the back. So for argument's sake, grommets there, I'll seal the back up to keep the CO2 out of the cabin. In doing the windscreen, what I'm finding, I need all the space to slide the windscreen around. I've only got 2 clecos down the front here. I've clipped them a couple of times with the windscreen. And when I'm trying to line the windscreen up, I've got to actually, I'm pushing, I've got to push all this in as well. So I want to rivet that down. I need to push on and bite the bullet and rivet that down, I think. However, tonight, another thing that's annoying me is my carby. So I need to put an extension arm on the carby and lift up the actual throttle arm. So I'll take the carby off and do that on the bench. To do that, I need to use my drill, which is over there. I don't know if it shows up on the video, but it's pretty dark in that corner at this time of night. I made up my lights during COVID. I'm going to hang the lights up. So I think I'll get those lights hung up, then I can use my drill and make up the piece for the carby. Also my 240 volts. What I normally put up with the last few weeks is the old extension lead on the floor. That's not going to happen anymore, so I'm just going to take a pause, hang up my 240 volt on the retractable lead, hang up the lights and do some jobs. I'll finish off the carby, I think. Check in there, rivet this down, then we'll get back to the windscreen. So firstly, you can see the shadows I'm working in over here. Secondly, how's this related to Zenith aircraft? Well, we're going to hang it up with some cable and some swages so that I can continue to practice my swaging that I'm going to have to do on the flight controls. They're pretty good, but I'll just do a bit more practice on this, hang the lights up. So, funny story, the missus just rang up, said, "What are you up to?" I said, "Oh, just having some coke, playing with strippers," and she hung up. Alright, put a bit of light on the subject, good to go. So I just spent the morning, I made that throttle arm extension for my carby, turned out pretty good. Now I get 1.5 to 2 inches of throttle travel, so I just put an arm on there. I did contact Orion Aircraft, or Arian Aircraft, Jabiru USA, but they just don't answer their emails and don't get back to me, so I made one myself. So just rolling the glare shield down for the last time, gone through, found my parts that I made up. These are the longerons or stiffeners across the glare shield. Seems like ages ago since I was doing this sort of stuff, but put the Cortec corrosion control on there. These were marked, I've just rubbed it off and they'll go inside there. I think I showed you in the last video when I made these, when that's all bolted down, when you put your crimps in, or your crinkles, whatever you call it, just do it on the outside. If it conforms to the outside skin, it's going to conform to the inside, so it makes it a lot easier. So put those on and then rivet this down. Alright, got that riveted on. Bit of progress. It covers up all your hard work. It makes the aircraft look neat and simple. Pro tip number 127. Where I position the engine mount, I didn't take into account these rivets. I've mentioned it before on forums. So I've got these shorter A5 rivets. Then hopefully that'll go in and won't hit the nut. The standard rivet hits the nut, same on both sides. I had a position like that on the wing, the top spar of the wing. There's a nut in the way if you've got that far yet, but looking good, going well. There you go. Just a slightly bigger head. Just aluminium rivets from the hardware store, just for that, the one that actually hit the, so your engine mount is there. There's two with A and 3 bolts running through the longeron this way. So you want to try and position them to avoid these, as well as centre everything else. Next step, radius this corner. That is dangerous. And while I'm at it, I'll just do this one down here as well. There's no need to have a corner. I understand this is for the cowl to engage onto, top cowl, but I'm just going to put a paddle pop stick radius on that. Now, I notice on other aircraft in videos, when they're flying, this piece in here does that. So I'm going to whack a bit of an L angle just in there, butt against the firewall, just to hold that. 2 in this side, 1 in there, and it'll just take that away. 3 holes on centre, my L angle, bit of scrap. I've potentially got a cleco there, so the cleco is going to be in the middle in that slot, so I can actually hold this up now that I've closed this up, and I'm here on my own. So yeah, cleco that, or sorry, hold that up and back drill. There you go, 5 minutes work, and that's stiffened that up now. Won't flap around. I put a rivet, so that hole was intentional, that was for a cleco so I could hold it up. Just put a rivet in there so that it's not a hole that looks like there's a rivet missing. This will all get carpet, the same as at the back there on the glare shield, and carpet wherever the windscreen stops about here, so this will be covered in carpet. So happy with that little mod. Alright guys, it's pretty hot in the shed here. I feel for the guys in Texas and Houston and everywhere that's I think it's frozen and heaps of snow, but it's 33 degrees here, Celsius at the moment. Pretty hot, time to go home for a swim. Didn't progress as much as with the windscreen as I thought, but that's building, I guess, with divert. So, happy where I'm up to now. Keep in mind for the next video, I'll definitely do the windscreen. I might make that a video in itself because there's a lot of information out there on that thing. It's sitting over here behind me, ready to go. Thanks for watching. Hope you got some tips out of that one. See you on the next video.